Welcome to the Unbearables podcast. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and I'm here with
Zeke, Cappel.
And I just wanted to let you guys know we actually have a Twitter account. It's at Unbearables. The link will be in the description. If so, basically, we're going to be putting updates on when the next video is going to come out, maybe what it's going to be on. So if you want to check it out, just look in the description below. But going past that, I just wanted to talk about this Bulls trade scenario that I saw on the Bulls scripted Twitter page. And basically, the Denver Nuggets really want to get rid of Kenneth Faried. And they said they're even willing to give their first-round pick. So their trade scenario, and I don't even know if this is super likely, but if it did happen, we're just going to assume it happens. They want, if they'll take Holiday and Portis for Faried in the 14th pick, would you take it?
All right, so what I have to say about that is, it doesn't really seem, obviously you said, like, they would even consider it, but let's say they do. I feel like us as Bull fans should know that we should take that in a heartbeat because that 14th pick could do so much for us. And you might be like, oh, well, Kenneth Faried, he's 28 years old. Well, he has one more year left in his contract, so we need, in order, and Brandon was telling me this earlier, we could take him for 1 year, just eat up 1 year of his money, and we still get that 14th pick. And as much as us Bulls fans, we love Portis and Holiday because, they're both great players. And you see Holiday play, he can put up 30 if he really wants to on some nights. Just the fact of the matter is he's nowhere near the elite point guards we have today. And also, if Chris Dunn is a better point guard than him, I don't really feel like it's going to be that big of a loss if we lose them.
Yeah, if we lose both of them, I feel like it really isn't that big of a deal because the 14th pick could really help the Bulls in a lot of aspects. I really feel like if having 3 draft picks in this draft, I know a lot of people say this isn't a deep draft, but the way I look at it, it may not be like you have all of these all-star level talents in this draft or perennial all-stars. I'm just saying I really think that this draft has a lot of players that can really help a team in general. And so I think with that 14th pick, now I think Miles Bridges is projected to go he's ranked 13th according to CBS Sports among all other players coming up in this draft. So if he happens to drop, and usually some players do drop, I don't know why he would drop, but if he does and you were able to get him with that 14th pick, that's a steal in my opinion. And even if you can't get him, there's Dante DiVincenzo. You can get Lonnie Walker, which I have some doubts about, but he does look like he can really score. Or maybe even Aaron Holiday. Hey, get a really solid backup point guard, and who knows, maybe he could actually show you something. And you still have the other 2 picks, one at 7 and one at 22.
Yeah, and Michael Bridges, the other one is 12, so he could fall down too. Or maybe we can even get lucky and get Kevin Knox, and he'd fall down 3 spots from CBS's ranking.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, and Knox we evaluated Knox a while back. We thought he was a pretty good player. We didn't think he was a 7th draft pick player.
No,
but he would actually help our team a lot.
He could work really well in the power forward position. I feel like next to Lauri Markkanen, if you want Lauri to play center. And I think having them as a 1-2 punch down low, and also they can both shoot threes, they can easily be shifting in and out. And I feel like that could really help with just ball movement in general.
Yeah. The only thing is obviously we see better options like Michael Porter Jr. If we drafted Michael Porter Jr. and Kevin Knox, someone's gonna have to be in the bench, and they're not gonna like that,
Well, they are rookies though, so I definitely think Michael Porter Jr. is not gonna be the one on the bench. So I mean that's okay with me. I just
I don't want a Terry Rozier situation where, Kyrie Irving goes down and suddenly he's amazing, and now the Celtics have this problem, that could suddenly happen with, if we did draft him in this situation.
The good thing, though, with that is that they're all really young, and so you can get them with a good contract, and say if you really end up liking one over the other, then you could trade one. But at the same time, really, they might both be able to play. It is possible in a starting rotation, to have Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, Michael Porter Jr.
At small forward?
Yeah, at small forward. And Kevin Knox and Lauri Markkanen. That's not that bad. I mean, it could work.
It would be a big guy lineup. It'd be like the Bucks, but except like built
and can shoot.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference.
Bucks aren't winning anything anytime soon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I really do like Dante DiVincenzo though, just because of his shooting ability. So, and he's just an all-around type of guy. He can help you in so many different aspects. He plays defense. He hustles all the time. He is actually pretty decent at passing, and he's not afraid of the moment. He showed you that in like the national championship game when he played outstanding.
Right.
So just there's a lot you can do with that 14th pick if you get it. And if Kenneth Faried is gone after next season, then there's nothing really you're losing. The Bulls have cap space that they can use. So why not, if you could do this? But with that being said, it's not very likely, I feel. But if it was, that would be a really good move for the Bulls.
Yeah, 3 first-round picks, that'd be great.
Yeah. But also, what we also want to talk about today was Chris Paul and how he wants a max deal, which I feel like was not the right move for him to take, especially because at the end of that max deal, he's going to be 37 years old, I believe, and he's also, I think, going to, if he gets that, make like $46 million a year when he's 36 years old. And you can't have 2 players on your team having a max deal like that with one, James Harden, he's still going to be really good at the end of his max deal. But Chris Paul at 37, there are not that many players that stay great at 37.
Well, here's the thing about me. I feel like Chris Paul deserves a max contract, but I don't feel like he should have said anything for 3 reasons. 1, he's old, so they're probably not considering it. 2, he's injury prone. Why would you're injury prone, you're asking for a max contract. That's not the best thing to do. That's like when Derrick Rose asked for a giant deal. And 3,
I don't think Derrick Rose asked for it, by the way. I think he just
gave
it to
but
him.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The fact that 3, I said for 3, the fact that your team is so well built together, and now you're saying, oh, I want this max contract. Understand that when the Warriors gave Steph Curry that max contract, he didn't really go out of to the media and said, I believe I get a max contract. They just gave it to him. That's the problem. Chris Paul, you really can't say things like that just because you're worried about how the team's going to be in the future, because Clint Capella is looking for not a max deal, but a big deal too, and James Harden already has one, so you're eating up all the cap space.
And yeah, so basically, he's really going to hurt their team. Now, they are saying that they're still looking at trying to sign Paul George, but I don't really know how much Paul George is going to ask for. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty good deal of money. And if that's the case, they might not be able to sign Clint Capella. And they did say that Chris Paul is the priority, and Clint Capella, they still want him, but he's not the priority. And I understand that because I could see where you're saying with Chris Paul deserving a max deal, but I don't think he deserves a max deal on this team. He could deserve a max deal on another team where he can just be the main guy, and he was the main guy, actually, for this Rockets team. The problem is that, like you said, he's just too old. The fact of the matter is that the only reason why the Rockets were close was because of Chris Paul against the Warriors. It's because of Chris Paul. He played outstanding. Just overall, he guarded Kevin Durant and actually did a good job. I don't know how, but he did. And he scored when they needed their scoring. So I could see why you could say he deserves it. But at the same time, it's if he gets this money, he's going to potentially ruin the Rockets going forward.
Yeah, basically what I meant by that is when he's on the floor and he's healthy, he's a max level player.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
That's why I said, I agree that how he was playing, yes. But at the same time, it's Chris Paul is 6'1", and I don't know how good a 6'1" player is going to be at age 37. It's a little bit
You can't think
harder.
of a lot of players that play till 37 that are 6'1", too.
Yeah. Most of the older players in the league are around maybe 6'6" and above. And just because, you have more versatility because you're taller. And if you lose some athleticism, you still have some height to make up for it. And that's a big thing where Chris Paul, you could see at some points even now where his height does give him a disadvantage, just that he's a really smart basketball player. So he makes up for it. But eventually it's you get too old and, Father Time he just says, hey, man, you can't really do what you're doing the way you did it anymore.
Right.
So I really think that he should settle for less, but if he doesn't want to, then that's fine. He doesn't have to win a championship. So that's all it is.
I mean, that's not a hot take. That's just the truth, you know.
And also going with like I know the Rockets are also looking at getting LeBron too, but LeBron and Paul George are reportedly going to talk after this finals about teaming up in LA, and that could actually really happen. And so if that happens, then the Rockets are probably going to re-sign Clint Capella, but I really wonder how that team would work out in LA with LeBron and Paul George.
Yeah, so one thing to say before I even say my point is Isaiah's going to be back with LeBron, and I feel like Isaiah's going to play just a little better than he did in Cleveland just because they expected him to fill Kyrie's role, and he really couldn't because he's not Kyrie.
Yeah. Well, that's if the Lakers resign him.
Yeah, so if they do resign him, then he will play to his own game. He won't play like he has to play to Kyrie's game or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have Lonzo Ball, Isaiah Thomas, Paul George, LeBron James, Julius Randle, Kyle Kuzma,
Brandon
Ingram. Am I missing anyone?
Brooke Lopez.
Yeah. On paper, that's great.
That could work, honestly. That's a better supporting cast
yeah.
than LeBron had now.
And the thing is a lot of the Lakers players are starting to be able to shoot again. If you look at Lonzo the second half of the season, he shot like 40% from the field, which is way better than what he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because Luke Walton has him shooting at least 100 threes in practice a day before they can leave. So you have a well team that's young. LeBron and Paul George can easily come in there and say, all right, we're the leaders of the team. Because all these guys are young, and they're willing to give that up. Well, maybe not Isaiah, but, you know.
Yeah. I really think that Lonzo could actually really be good for that team, just in, like, distributing the ball. I know LeBron said he wants to play off the ball more, and if, say, Lonzo actually does have some real weapons, like, that's going to help his offense altogether, because Lonzo's a passer, like, by nature. So if he has scorers around him, like real, like legitimate scorers, I think that could really help because Lonzo really does look out for his teammates more than himself, and you could see that because he isn't afraid to, not score a ton of points every game.
Yeah, he's great.
Or take a lot of shooting attempts.
Besides all the hate and stuff that he gets, he's really great at everything he does. It's just he's got to work on his shooting more.
Yeah, he even plays really good defense too.
Exactly. This is kind of off topic, but I don't even know if Isaiah starts. Does he start on the Lakers?
No, he's definitely off the bench.
Dude, that is terrible. He literally went from 29 points to being on the bench, dude.
I mean, that system that he was in with the Celtics was really
it made him look better
for a point guard. For a point guard to excel. And
the system makes everyone look better, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I talked about that last time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I would love to have Isaiah just because of the defensive liability that he is, and I've always said that. But for him to stay on the Lakers, because I don't really think they need him per se, and I think he's going to try to call for a really big contract, and which he really doesn't deserve because he was injured for a lot of last season. But I mean, some people might say he deserves it, but look at him, like he's a real defensive liability since that injury. Like since that he was a defensive liability beforehand, but since the injury, it's gotten even worse.
Yeah, low key, Isaiah Thomas's agent is an idiot because he's the one making all these calls being like, oh, he needs a max and he gets this. And I remember when he first went to the Lakers, he literally told Magic Johnson, he was like, Isaiah Thomas isn't going to settle for a bench position. Like the reason why Isaiah Thomas gets all this crap now is because of his agent, because he says all these things and he really doesn't deserve it.
I really do think, though, that to an extent, Isaiah Thomas does have an ego.
Oh, yeah.
And he really feels like he should be a starting point guard, and maybe he should be, but I would never want Isaiah Thomas to be a starting point guard
on a championship
team. Like, that's just not good because they'll make that mismatch all the time, like how LeBron did to the Boston Celtics when he kept on making switches onto Terry Rozier and posted him up. Teams will do that, especially the Warriors. They'll do that for sure.
Think about
Kevin
the
Durant
Cavs.
will do that all the time.
Remember the Cavs when they when Isaiah was on the Celtics and he was against Kyrie? They took advantage of that, and as soon as he got injured, people were like, "Wow, the Celtics are better without him." Not exactly. It's just the mismatches were way better when they versed each other.
Yeah, I really hope that this LA team, if it does work out that way, I really hope that Isaiah Thomas isn't on the team, to be honest. I just feel like it's better to get their younger players to really get into the system and just start being more consistent, because the only reason why I'm not sure that LeBron and Paul George won't work out in LA or won't go to LA is that their scorers, the young scorers like Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, all those dudes, they still are inconsistent. Brandon Ingram has gotten better, for sure. He's gotten way better at being consistency and all. But Kyle Kuzma is still not a consistent scorer, and that's not his fault or anything. He's just young. And Lonzo isn't either. But the thing is, though, Lonzo's not a scorer, but he has scoring ability.
Yeah, in the future, I feel like his 5th or 6th year, he'll somehow average like 18 points, if I'm honest with you.
Maybe. Yeah, but I mean, if he has LeBron and Paul George, then probably not, because he's going to have to share the load.
I don't always think he's going to have this type of Rondo role, though. I feel like Magic, because you heard what Magic said. He said this is going to be the hardest summer of your life. He said he was going to make Lonzo work really hard this summer, and all I can think about is just him helping it with his scoring. He averaged 10 points this season. Lonzo is not a 10-point.
I don't think so
The
either.
potential of him is not a 10-point scorer. I mean, 15 sounds more like him, but I feel like he can even be better than 15.
Oh, he definitely can going forward. But the thing is, though, if I'm saying, though, if this LeBron and Paul George situation works out and he has to share, his main thing, if that happens, is to make sure his teammates all get the ball.
Right.
He needs to score. He needs to be a better scorer, because he can be a better scorer. It's just like a matter of, if you have LeBron James and Paul George and Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma, all these guys that can score, then your job as the point guard, I feel like, in that scenario, if you're not currently the best scorer, I'm not saying he shouldn't gain some confidence, though. It's just that he needs to make sure that they're getting the ball, because those are your guys, and all their roles is just to score.
Also, Lakers fans, don't get your hopes up, because you guys say you're going to get someone every single year, and you don't. Okay?
Yeah, I mean,
you guys are like,
know.
oh, we're going to get Jimmy Butler. No. Gordon Hayward. No.
Hey, if you don't get him, it's all good.
Yeah, you have a really good young team in the future. But don't get your hopes up for these guys.
I don't know how good they are for championship purposes, but they do look like they're a pretty good team, and maybe that'll entice some people to go play with the Lakers.
That Lakers GM deserves some credit. Okay, if you go back,
I think it's like Rob Pelinka. Or something.
If you go back before the half season trade where they traded some of the players to the Cavs, you have Julius Randle, Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Brooke Lopez. Well, he's not part of it. Larry Nance Jr., Kyle Kuzma, like all these young players that can score and play their role. Imagine this team. I feel like this team, maybe not a contending team, but like this team of like good talent could be like a 4th seed in like 3 years. But of course they traded away Larry Nance, and who was the other player? He was Jordan Clarkson. He was really good too, but they traded him away.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It was like,
that's okay though.
It's okay because he wasn't going to become anything.
Yeah.
But their GM has just done so well in not drafting any bust at all. He drafts someone that can at least play pretty good basketball.
Well, he's drafted all people that can help them in any way. So, I mean, even though you look at Jordan Clarkson, he's not playing that well with the Cavs, and that's fine. I feel like also, though, you have to look at like the LeBron James system, and sometimes it's hard for players to play well with him. So I don't know if that's exactly his fault.
Yeah.
But also looking at Larry Nance, like those are players that the GM got and utilized them to help his team. So at the end of the day, he's doing a good job, because everything he's been doing has been working to help his team. But also what I wanted to really talk about is, why didn't LeBron James take the last shot in Game 1? I understand he made a smart play by passing it to George Hill, but at the same time, you are putting the whole weight of that Game 1 on George Hill when you know no one on that Warriors team can guard your drive. No one.
It's ridiculous. And there were so many matches at the end of the game where he was on Steph. And, yes, you could pass it out. But at the end of the day, you're a lot bigger than him. You could take advantage of that. Even if you don't even have to post up. You could just drive in and Steph wouldn't be able to guard you. I remember when Steph was on him and George Hill was driving to the hoop and guarding Klay Thompson, he tried to get the cut from George Hill, and George Hill got fouled. And I was like, dude, you could have like faked the pass, step back, or you had so many options you can do, but your first instinct with 4 seconds of the game left was to pass it to George Hill.
I know it's ridiculous. I mean, to look at LeBron James and just see how great of a player he is, and he always says, I mean, even in that like new 2K cover, he put GOAT on there. And part of me is like, look, if you're the greatest of all time and you really believe that, then you have to stop being afraid in the finals to take the last shot. At the greatest stage, the grandest stage, like all of basketball, it's like he takes them in the playoffs, like every other series except for the finals. He is so afraid to do it. And when he's missed. So part of me just looks at it like, you have to take that shot. You have to. This is what legends like are remembered for, like making those types of plays.
Right.
And if you miss, you miss. But you are the player that's leading your team, so you take the shot.
And that's why people respect Kobe so much too. I mean, people see LeBron as better than Kobe, but people never give smack for Kobe just because he took the last minute shot every second. There's literally a video where 4 guys run at him half court and he shoots the shot. He missed a shot, but it's just like, that's the mentality you should have, especially with your size and this team. If you think you're the greatest and you're going against one of the greatest teams of all time, you need to be able to take these last minute shots.
And he had a good matchup.
Yeah.
It was like it was everything was in his favor, and that just got me upset.
I don't know. Let's just say Iguodala. Well, he wasn't playing, but let's say Iguodala or Klay or even Draymond was on him. It would be a little more understandable. But Steph Curry, I get that Steph's not exactly a defensive liability, but it's Steph on LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been able to do something with that. Instead, he just passes it for the cut, and George Hill is just lucky he got fouled by Klay Thompson there.
I mean, everyone says like it's a good thing LeBron noticed that, but I mean, you never notice if LeBron actually noticed that. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, maybe he did. He's a smart basketball player. I feel like sometimes we do give him too much credit for some of the things that happen. But
also,
you can go.
Let me get one more thing. A lot of people might be like, well, George Hill was just bigger, and he has long arms, and he was just making the right basketball decision. Well, it doesn't always mean that's the best decision for the game. Remember last year, Kyle Korver, one of the best three-point shooters of all time. It was the end of the game.
Yeah.
He passed out to Korver, and Korver missed a three.
Oh my God.
Which means that you need to just rely on yourself rather than relying on your teammates sometimes.
This has happened too many times to LeBron James, and it just irks me because like I've seen him. I remember that play like so vividly, and I was so upset because LeBron had 2 open shots in a row.
Right.
2. And he passed it to Kyle Korver, and then he also passed it to Kevin Love, who both missed.
Exactly.
And it's like, you were wide open. Why do you keep on doing this, LeBron?
And you see, I'd say he's the best three-point shooter on that team, too. He's really good at shooting threes now.
Yeah, he's gotten better over his career for sure, but I would still say like an open 3, Korver's probably better, but LeBron is definitely really solid from the 3-point line. So that's why it's another thing. It's like, LeBron, you are a shooter. You just got to show it. Can't be afraid of it. And he does score a lot of points, and I'm not trying to take that away from him. He does carry his team a lot, but at the same time, it's like the closing aspect of the game. When you have to close a game, that is what he has to do. And taking that last shot is important, or just trying to get fouled. And I don't know if I'd rather have LeBron actually go to the free throw line because he shoots I think 68% from the free throw line. But that's the thing, though.
He wouldn't have missed that free throw like George Hill, though, and that's another thing.
Even if he missed it, if he was that close, like I feel like he would have had a way better chance of getting a rebound after his shot than George Hill. I don't know if I trust him actually to make the free throw. But
so did George Hill only miss one free throw?
He just missed one.
Yeah.
And then JR.
Yeah, and then that's the next topic.
Yeah, well,
JR. Well, not really. Everyone knows what JR did and how dumb it was. It was just more of LeBron's reaction to it.
Yeah, LeBron's reaction, man. He went to the bench, and this is the first game. I've never actually felt sorry for LeBron James ever, because I feel like if someone is one of the greatest basketball players of all time, you should not feel sorry for them. I just don't. I feel that. I don't feel that way. So this is a game, though, I saw, and I actually felt sorry for LeBron James. And now I did feel that way until I saw his bench reaction when he sat there and sulked, like in defeat, where he just didn't talk to anybody. All he asked was Ty Lue. He's like, wait, we had a timeout? We had a timeout? And regardless, I know it was LeBron. Look, I was thinking the same thing. Ty Lue should have called a timeout. J.R. Smith should have shot. Like, all those things happen. But if you are that great of a player, you have to say, okay, that sucks. We need to learn from that, but we need to move on because we still have a game to win. LeBron did not do anything on that bench. He didn't talk. Nobody talked. They just sat there in silence, and at that point, you knew the game was over. And that is something that the level of greatness LeBron has reached, you would never have expected him to do. But then again, that's like it did happen before, like that one series in Miami where he gave up at the end of the game, where he sat out.
Mavs or Spurs?
I think it was the Spurs.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that. I watched that and I'm like, if LeBron James is this great.
And look, if you had that reaction at first, it's fine, but it's just the fact that he did it for so long. Like, you're going into overtime. You still have a chance to win the game. And you might be like, yeah, well, it's against 4 All-Stars. Well, you could have said that about that the whole game, the whole time, but they pretty much could have won at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, JR, he should have gotten so much for it, and he has, but I just feel like LeBron hasn't gotten enough because the whole thing wouldn't have happened if LeBron would have just taken that shot, or he wouldn't have gave up in overtime. He shot terrible, and he was passing the ball again.
That's my whole thing too, right? If LeBron took the last shot, J.R. Smith would not have had that problem. But because like you said, because LeBron didn't take the last shot, he left the game in the hands of his teammates, which he then talked about. I believe I read this correctly, that he said, like, how much more do you want me to carry them? After people were commenting on his reaction.
It's like ridiculous. Like I was just thinking about that right now. Like, you can say that in the regular season, and like it might be something like terrible to say, but everyone would kind of overlook it. Like, you're in the finals right now, and you're literally counting on your teammates to make every shot, and now you're saying, how much more can I do? You know? And
it's like, you can hold people accountable, but there's a difference between holding people accountable and feeding them, like giving them out to the wolves. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like you are literally saying to your teammates, like, hey, it's not my fault, it's your fault, and I'm going to let the whole media know. And I feel like that's not the LeBron James I know, but maybe he's just tired of the criticism.
Right.
But I really think that LeBron should not have acted that way on the bench, because he just told the Warriors, they were all laughing and stuff afterwards. Like, he told the Warriors, hey, you guys won this game. I'm done. And he told his teammates, hey, we're done. I can't win this game anymore. And it's like, you don't do that. Even if you really feel like you can't win, you don't sit there and act like you can't win.
Yeah, and it's not like you're down by 25. You still had a chance that whole time.
It's a tie game.
Exactly.
Yeah, and oh my God. I mean, like you said, I mean, he could be upset because he's like, we should have won that game. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that happened that they could have been avoided. That whole situation could have been avoided, like him scoring on his own. And even after that point, it's like you were winning for most of the game.
Exactly.
You could say, like you said, 4 All-Stars. They had 4 All-Stars against them the whole time. Why did it matter then? Maybe he was tired, but then again, he always says, like, he was only tired once. Like,
he literally goes,
I mean?
"Oh, I'm never tired." He said that in an interview after a game.
No, I know, and I don't believe that because he always looks around like he's trying to show that he's tired all the time. And
he like. And that's the thing, like, I'm not one of those people that gets really upset when he doesn't do defensive assignments, but you can't blame your tiredness for end of the game, like, stunts like this.
Mm-hmm. So, LeBron James, at the end of the day, needs to start taking that last shot and making it. And I know he's afraid to do it.
Are we ending it after this? I have one more thing to say.
You can talk about it.
I don't want to sound like well, I'm gonna speak for both of us, but this is mostly myself. We don't want to sound like LeBron haters or nothing. I feel like very high of LeBron. He's in my top 5. We're not trying to. We've been talking about him for like 20 minutes. I'm just saying this. He's a phenomenal player. We just feel like sometimes he gets a little bit too passive and relies on his teammates too much, not realizing that he is one of the greatest players of all time and the greatest in the game right now.
Yeah, I think he's the great. I've said this before. I think he's the greatest player of this era. To me personally, I think he's number 2.
Me too.
And I mean, I think you can assume who I'm thinking is number 1. But I'm just saying that LeBron, he shows that he's a scorer. He shows he can do almost everything on the court, but sometimes he doesn't do it. And
before you might be like, well, that's too critical. Like, people value him as the number 1. You see so many kids saying he's number 1. If he's number 1, he has to do all this, and that's why we're critiquing him for it.
Yeah, because like if you are, because that's my whole point. Like if he keeps on saying he's the greatest player of all time, it's like if you are the greatest player of all time, then you have to do those little things. You have to close out a game. Like, you have to do those things. And that's something that LeBron does not like to do. Like he said, like, if it wasn't for Ray Allen, he wouldn't only have 2 championships right now.
Right.
And the thing is, though, LeBron, who's better, you or Ray Allen? Like, it shouldn't be because of Ray Allen that you won. Like, you have teammates, but, like, come on, man.
And you can argue Kyrie, too.
Oh, Kyrie, he's a phenomenal player. He has what LeBron James doesn't have in the terms of like I'm gonna take that game-winning shot, like how he made Kyrie do it before. So that's the whole thing. He did make Kyrie do it when they won in Cleveland. So Kyrie isn't afraid of that moment. Now it'll still take LeBron over Kyrie any day of the week, but at the same time, Kyrie has that thing that LeBron just doesn't seem to have, and that one thing is very important: the ability to close a game. So, but that's it for today. I just wanted to remind you guys to check out our Twitter account, which there'll be a link in the description. And if you want to watch any other videos, just click on our channel, check them out. I'm Brandon Ruiz, and
I'm Zeke Cappel.
And thanks for listening.